Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to have my work cut out for me in a game where it kind of feels like you're trying to herd cats. That's pretty much the essence of playing a light tank in World of Tanks, but before I jump into that, take a look at the equipment that I'm using on this vehicle. I actually decided on my WZ1321, which has been top of the tree for pretty much the last month, after having very many games and watching my win ratio just drop and drop and drop in the tank. Probably because of the fact that now self-propelled guns have been nerfed so much that playing a light tank just doesn't feel so rewarding, and also the fact that so many heavy tanks now are just getting faster and faster in the game, that the win ratio that I used to be able to achieve in the WZ1321, I have definitely not been able to replicate recently. So I decided to have a change of focus with my equipment on this tank. A lot like in my Rheinmetall Panzerwagen video, where I was talking about making the worst tank at least reasonably good, I decided to apply the same mixture to my WZ1321. And so I went for the concealment module, which will improve my concealment up until probably about kind of like the 44% mark in this vehicle. Vents, and I'm also using a commander's vision system to be able to stop people on the bushes. However, as you can see, it kind of hinders one of the best things about this tank, which is its turret and also its damage per minute. So because I'm not using the gun rammer on this vehicle, I probably wasn't able to get the shot into the WZ1321 there. Also, another thing that I've discovered about light tanks, and especially the WZ1321, is that there's a field mod that reduces your top speed but increases your engine power. And for me personally, with the WZ1321, even though it has a fairly limited top speed already of 65 kilometers an hour, I made the adjustment of making the sacrifice to the top speed to be able to increase the vehicle's power to weight ratio, which is actually only 36. Now 36, that's still incredibly impressive, an amazing power to weight ratio. But for a tier 10 light tank, 36 is not nearly as good as the kind of 45 that a lot of the other vehicles are packing. And so those adjustments to the WZ1321 have helped me, I wouldn't say get back to how competitive I was in the vehicle, maybe before the self-propelled gun nerfs, but they've definitely allowed me to play a lot more aggressively with regards to my camo and just be a more efficient scout without taking too much of a hit to the capacity of the combat capacity on the vehicle. Alright, so we're playing a game here on Berlin. Just wanted to highlight why I've decided to make those choices on the tank and the change of equipment, and so maybe you can try and make those changes to your vehicles as well. So we're playing on Berlin, and we got to try quite a tricky situation here for the WZ1321. And that is that as the game develops, you're going to slowly see that the town is going to have what looks like a worse and worse result. And we have this kind of stalemate towards the south of this map, where they've got some pretty darn dangerous tier 8 premium tanks who are in the middle, who are going to try and stop me from being able to get to the bush that I want to get to, which is actually right there, just towards the T110E4. However, we're about to make a game-changing play here, and that's to not shoot the lower plate of the T110E4, but instead use our reactions to be able to get some shots into the tracks of the T110E4 as we just go up on that ridgeline, and that nets us a whole host of tracking right there. I think that was pretty much the entire tank of the T110E4 with regards to tracking there. 2,000, well, not quite 2,000, but nearly 2,000 assistance. So who needs a commander's vision system, right? Well, I do. I've already got commander's vision system on this tank. Who needs all of that kind of spotting malarkey? Just shoot the tracks and catch a tank completely ill-prepared out in the open in front of your tank destroyers, and I guess the Borask, who was also able to get some shots into the side. So here we go. It's pesky EBR time, and this is why I hate playing vehicles like the WZ1321 and the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, and that is that you kind of just feel hopeless while the EBR is driving around. Looks like they've gone into my base and killed my 2 artillery. I couldn't leave this dip. There was no way I was going to be able to do that. But however, maybe I can adjust my position on this ridgeline and get ready to see if we can pull. That's right. Yeah, get out of here, EBR. I was very chuffed with that shot. Those are the kind of shots that you kind of like have a bit of a fist pump if I wasn't so focused on also maybe needing to carry this game, as we are down on 1,000 hit points, and it looks like we are down by 4 tanks right now. We've killed 3 vehicles, of which I would say that I was probably influential on killing a couple of them, yet we are down to 8 tanks on our team. So now you're going to see where the WZ1321 is just so awful. Like 0.42 accuracy on this gun, oh, it's really not very good, but not many of the tier 10 light tanks are designed for being able to engage at long range. As I've said many times on this channel, Wargaming hate tier 10 light tanks. They tried to do absolutely everything they could to make them not effective at decent distances, because they lose 25% of their penetration over distance, unless of course you're firing a high explosive anti-tank rounds, which I probably should have done at that T69, or maybe I did even do. Alright, so now the town is actually not looking too bad, even though we are down on nearly 4,000 hit points now as the 113 shuts down the IS-7 in the town. Well, actually the IS-7 right next to me. And the Borask comes around the corner and claps another Borask. So I've got to make a decision here. Do I go for the LT-432? That's 2 shots, Borask, and we're not playing baseball here. There's no 3-strike policy. This is a 1-shot, 2-shot, and then we're gonna knock you out. And there you go. Goodbye, Mr. Borask. And luckily for me, the Stridsvagn 103B shoots me from the side, and in this kind of a situation, we've got to be quite frenetic. We've got to take the fight to the enemy team. Even though my E75 gets a shutdown on the enemy E75, I'm going to try and get through here, try and rock and roll inside the window, and see if we can be able to punish the 113. But in retrospect, this was never really going to happen. What was I thinking? All I really ended up doing there was wasting some time. I should have probably just driven down the trenches here towards the 113, or alternatively tried to get some vision out across the way. Alright, so we're still down by 3 tanks. This is a 4 versus 7 situation. However, the 113 is nigh on destroyed, so that is an advantage. And great, the E75 picks up their 2nd kill in quick succession there, shutting down the enemy E75 and now also the 113, so it's looking like we might be able to come back into this. So having done what I could in the center of the map, and seeing that this T95 just outtraded the T110E4, I use my Z key, which I hold down when I mouse over a tank to let them know that I'm going to help them. And luckily, we win the 50-50 there to not low roll and shut down the T95 without requiring any assistance or a subsequent shot, which could have been a little bit hairy considering that they have 2 self-propelled guns. So I'm trying to make my movements unpredictable here for the enemy artillery, but when I see that there's a TL1 LPC who's punishing my E75, I mean, how much can I really not attack right now? Now, I probably should have thought, yeah, I was spotted. Now, that was very predictable coming around that corner, and I nearly get clapped out the game by the artillery. Luckily, the 2nd shell doesn't hit my vehicle, and I see the T124s behind me again, and while I tank the shot from the TL1 LPC, the T124 shuts him down, and I say thank you to the T124, and the T124 says thank you to me. So luckily, even though earlier on in the battle it definitely felt like I was herding cats, I was kind of locking down the tracks of the T124 when he was completely out in the open, and that was the only way that we were going to be able to get back into this game. It looks like Go Lube on my team in the T110 E4 is definitely not the hardest of cats to hurt, right? So that's I'm not doing Go Lube in their T124 justice here. They're going to play a great defensive and supportive game here for the WZ-132, and I'm just trying to provide vision, and hopefully Go Lube is going to be able to get the cross shot here on the T110. Sorry, on the M4043, or alternatively on the GW Tiger. And there we go! He shuts down the one that I didn't have enough alpha damage for, and I ask Go Lube to fall back because the artillery is aiming at him, which I can see, which will allow me to go around the corner, and once again, looks like I'm rolling good at the end of this game as we shut down the M4043. Alright, so now that we've dealt with the enemy artillery, that complete nest that they have on the Berlin map, now it's about trying to go towards the center of the map and try to pick out some vision. But there's one incredibly sneaky tank that we're going to have to deal with, the Stridsvagn 103B, which really has almost unspottable kind of levels of camo if he's stationary. Luckily for me, however, I do have that vision set up on this tank, and importantly, I am using the module that increases my camo rating on the move to be able to take the WZ-1321 from being a vehicle which is not great, probably only having about 35% camo, all the way up to about that 44% camo area. So do notice that my top speed limit right now clearly shows that I am using a field mod that is reducing my top speed from 65 kilometers an hour from 62. But I really do feel that 62 is enough with this vehicle for the majority of the situations, and the improved power to weight ratio does allow you to have the acceleration to be able to get to places, to not be caught out when you're turning so much, and to be able to stop and start, which is so important in this vehicle. So I was expecting to possibly get spotted there, but it looks like the camo module actually keeps me hidden from the T69, and that means that with 2 vehicles spotted and the STRV-103B not aiming at me, that I can confirm a kill on the T69 and just lock down this STRV-103B. So immediately, what I'm going to do here is say, capture the base, because we're not going to drive into that STRV-103B. He's got nearly as many hit points as all of our team have left between the 3 of us. So when I saw that my T110E4 was leaving the cap circle, I was like, oh no, please, please, please go lube. So I actually ask him in chat, E4, keep capping, please. And then I ping towards the cap circle a couple of times. And you know what? An absolute blessed moment. As Go Lube, on 144 hit points, slowly reverses their way back towards the cap circle. I say thanks, and I was super happy to see that Go Lube was also using their F6 and their F5 keys to use, firstly, negative, which I guess was a misclick, and had me sweating there for a second, and then presses affirmative. And that's just perfect play. This is something that a lot of people will not do in these situations. And what can the STRV do now? Now, we've basically put a timer up on them to force them to have to attack us. And that's the best way to deal with any kind of a player who's playing defensively in a situation like this. Now, I'm not sure if I'm spotting, or alternatively, if the E75 is. As I didn't get any spotting, that means that the E75 on my team is actually one lighting up the STRV. Now, it looks like the STRV managed to deal some damage to the E75 there, but the E75 outtraded the STRV. And this is where having a commander's vision system on this vehicle is just so lovely. I should be able to spot this vehicle right inside the bushes. Yeah, no. That shows you just how good the vision is on the STRV. Okay, so now at the end of the game, I'm going to overcomplicate things. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop in a second, and I'm going to start typing to Go Lube in their T110E4. I'm going to try and tell them, Go Lube, I'm going to rush in. Please don't leave the cap circle. And then the STRV reverses behind the bushes, which actually means that we don't react quick enough as we press our escape key to stop typing. Because what my idea was, I just wanted Go Lube to tell me that they weren't going to stop capping in this situation. Because my plan was that I was going to try and rush in, knowing that there's no way that the STRV is going to get towards my cap circle, because I guess I was a little bit greedy and I wanted to get that top gun. But luckily for me, the E75 manages to shut down the STRV at the end of the game, and we successfully completed our mission of herding cats inside World of Tanks, which is definitely a light tank pastime. So an ace tanker for our WZ1321 here for 1,216 base experience. It doesn't really usually strike me as a high enough total to be able to get an ace tanker, especially when this vehicle is currently top of the tree, but I think there's probably a reason why this is one of the weaker tier 10 tanks in the game, especially in the current meta. And I'd like to give a massive shout out to Go Lube and also to Felice for getting through this situation together. And while maybe I can joke around that playing a light tank is like herding cats in World of Tanks, I really don't think this was the case with both of you here, especially Go Lube. Thank you so much to you for securing that cap circle at the end. You turned what usually will be an incredibly dangerous situation against a high DPM defensive tank destroyer, just completely negated it simply by going and sitting in a location. Who would have thought? Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, however, give it a thumbs down. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.